Good to go. Thanks for coming. Tonight we're going to start with an invocation given by Pastor John Dostal of the Kingsburg Concordia Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd please stand.
Let's pray. All right. It happens in my church sometimes. Okay, let's pray. Our Lord, our Creator, by your holy prophet, you taught your ancient people to seek the welfare of the cities in which they lived. We commend our city to your care, that it might be kept free from social strife and decay. Give us strength of purpose and concern for others, that we may create here a community of justice and peace, where your will may be done through your Son, Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
We'll call this meeting to order. This is the Kingsburg City Council regular meeting for August 20th, 2025. Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call?
Present.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here. First up tonight, we have first item is to approve tonight's agenda. But prior to that, there was a need to add a closed session. There's a need to add a closed session item. Came to the attention of the city after the agenda was posted. The city staff did not know about the immediate need before the agenda was posted. The closed session item is going to be regarding a conference with legal counsel with anticipated litigation. The initiation of litigation pursuant to Subdivision C of Government Code 54956.9, one potential case, and that is going to be a vote of 2/3 of the council be required. That being said, I want to add that to tonight's agenda, and we will entertain motions.
Motion.
All in favor? First up, we have presentations and informational reports. The Measure C presentation by Fresno Council of Governments Executive Director Robert Phipps. Welcome, Robert.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I appreciate you having me here tonight. So I'm here to talk about Measure C. Are you going to control the? Okay. Your way. Oh. Yeah. Sure. Okay. So as the mayor said, my name is Robert Phipps. I'm the executive director with Fresno Council of Governments. We're your regional transportation planning agency, and we are this time heading up the renewal effort, 2026 renewal effort for Measure C, or local transportation sales tax measure. So the first thing to understand about Measure C is this is not a new tax. In fact, Measure C has been with us now for almost 40 years, since approximately 1986 was when it was first instituted by voters, and throughout the entire region. So this is a countywide tax that over its entire lifetime has actually generated itself only about $2.1 billion, but the real secret sauce in it is what it has leveraged, both on a countywide scale in terms of large regional projects, such as the extension of Highway 180, 41, 168, and many, many other projects. Most recently, for example, the Veterans Boulevard interchange, brand new interchange on State Route 99. These major projects getting state and federal money that would otherwise not have been possible had it not been for Measure C. So while it itself has only raised about $2 billion over its lifetime, it has leveraged an additional $8 billion during that same period. And interestingly, of that $2 billion, only about 75% has come in from residents of Fresno County. So about 25% of that have been from visitors, people who are coming to our national parks or who are coming to visit relatives and friends. So again, you know, kind of good news there that we're not even paying the full brunt of the measure's costs. So how much does it cost the average family, the average household, in terms of keeping Measure C going? It's about $8 by our estimate, and that is income sensitive. So it is an average. Some households, higher income households, pay closer to 12. Lower income households may pay closer to $4, but about $8 a month on average in sales tax. So these are taxable items, not including things like groceries or medicine that are part of the measure. So this is the Measure website, nowmeasurec.com. It has recently been undergone a major renovation to update it with lots of new information on a jurisdiction by jurisdiction basis, city by city, to include the funding amounts that each city or jurisdiction has received over the course of certainly the last 20 years since the measure was last renewed in 2006. And again, this covers not just highways and freeways, but also local streets and roads, public transportation, bikeways, pedestrian paths, grade separations, and airports, among many other things. So the current measure, this is kind of how it's divided now. As you can see, about 34.6% goes directly back to the jurisdictions for three 3.5% for environmental enhancement, which includes the what we call the active transportation projects primarily. So your bikeways, bike paths, sidewalks, medians, these kinds of things, beautification, but a host of other programs are included in all of that. And about 30.4% is reserved for the regional program, which again, that's the large capital projects that are regional in nature. So they connect all of our communities. The regional program, a regional project is one that users of multiple communities might traverse. So in Kingsburg, what are we looking at? What has Kingsburg helped to fund? Or what does the measure help to fund in Kingsburg, rather? So over the last 20 years, in street maintenance alone, about $2.8 million for ADA compliance, curb cutouts, ADA accessibility on public streets, about $95,000. And then what we call the flexible funding pot, which is at the discretion of the jurisdictions, another $3.38 million for a total of $6.72. But the story doesn't end there. In addition to that, Kingsburg has managed to procure additional grants that are on a competitive basis. So these are formula funds that go back to the jurisdictions, but there are also competitive grants in other sub-programs of the measure that Kingsburg has been successful at receiving, including the most recently the Kingsburg Resiliency Hub under the New Technology Reserve Program for $1.5 million, the Downtown Kingsburg Strategic Plan, and the Downtown Kingsburg TOD Infrastructure Improvements, phase one of those under the Transit-Oriented Development Plan for $553,000, and then the work on State Route 201 from 99 to the county line. So a total there of $5.7 million. Golden State Boulevard under the regional program, one of the big regional projects, Kingsburg, including the trail that's going in, $17.6 million, and then Mountain View from Bethel to the Tulare County line, another $18.4 million. So a total in those categories of about $43.9 million that have directly or indirectly Kingsburg residents have enjoyed. So in terms of regional projects, you can see, like I said, these are the big capital projects that we all use. Measure C funds about $252 million, state funds $191 million, federal funds about $33 million across multiple projects. I know this map is a little difficult to read, but you can see where a lot of those have taken place. So again, we've already talked about 201 and Golden State Boulevard in Mountain View, and also the New Technology Reserve and the TOD programs. In terms of, so Kingsburg, in terms of public transportation, is served by the FCRTA, Fresno County Rural Transit Agency, 3.99%, almost 4% of measure funding for that since 2007. About 4.3 million goes to FCRTA as an annual allocation, and about close to 50 million to date, which helps serve Kingsburg both intra-city, within the city, buses within the city, and then those that go from Kingsburg to Fresno on a daily basis back and forth, providing seniors, disabled students, multiple residents with a means of transportation. There's about 20% of Fresno County households throughout the county that do not have a car, and so they are transit dependent. On a county-wide basis, these are the numbers. You can see some of the other programs that are mentioned. The farm worker van pools, about on an annual basis, about 636,000 have gone in, and the car van pool programs about the same amount over the lifetime of about a little over 14 million for those two programs to assist farm workers with transportation to migrant farm worker jobs, and car van pools. We subsidize van pools for a multitude of work sites that are both public and private. The biggest of which is also, Enterprise and Calvans are two of the biggest providers of that. And then you see there also the New Technology Reserve that was mentioned. So the question, that is the measure as it exists today, and the question becomes, what do we want, what do we expect out of the new measure going forward? What is the new measure going to look like? And so we have this new website of MeasureC2026.com that is live, and we've developed a steering committee that has met, I think, 7 times at this point. They're still going through that, working on developing allocations under broad categories. They're going to continue their work looking at subcategories. We anticipate that much of the existing measure structure is going to be retained, although there may be additional subcategories or those that may fall off the list going forward, and how that occurs, we're not certain yet. That the recommendations for those will come to the Fresno COG board, on which Mayor Purcell sits, and then also to the Fresno County Transportation Authority, which actually administers the measure. So Fresno County is one of about 23 what we call self-help counties throughout the state. We were one of the first in 1986, but we're one of only 2 where the administration of the measure is separated from the COG. So we have a separate agency that actually administers much of the program. They do contract with Fresno COG for several of those programs, which is one of the reasons I'm here. Also, we are responsible under statute for developing the expenditure plan that guides the measure, which is the other reason I'm here tonight. So in terms of maintenance, when we talk about pavement condition, and what would the term we use, pavement condition index, the engineering term for the state of our streets and roads, how well or poorly they are maintained. This chart kind of shows you what the potential, expenditures might need to look like in order to adjust that trajectory of the pavement condition going forward, where it's been and where it's headed. So right now, this is graded on a 100-point scale, obviously 100% being effectively like driving on glass, and anything below 50 considered to be in pretty bad shape. And so the average, what is considered to be average good, very, very acceptable, would be a 70, a PCI of 76. Kingsburg has enjoyed a relatively healthy 66%, and we track this. We've been tracking this since 2019 on a countywide basis through specialized software, countywide pavement management system. And so the question is, what would it take in terms of percentage of measured dollars to get us up to a 70 on a countywide basis? And so you can see that without the measure, the red line is where we would be by 2049 if there were no measure, and then different scenarios, assuming a 30-year measure of what it would take to get us to 70 or perhaps a little bit above 70. So based on our forecast, the historically, the Measure C has returned an average of about 4.36% on interest on, an increase in revenue on an annual basis on average. We are assuming a slightly more conservative look going forward at about 4%. And so we would anticipate over 30 years about $7.25 billion that the measure itself would generate. But again, using that same reasoning, because it's not just the big capital projects that are able to leverage those state and federal dollars. The cities themselves also enjoy that opportunity when they apply for state and federal funds, some of which come through our office, some of which are given directly to you, such as Senate Bill $1 through the state, that you're able to match that money and make it go further. And so that is what we anticipate the measure could potentially bring in over a 30-year time frame. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from council?
I really like the measurec.com website. I like how you can go there by city and see what you presented for Kingsburg, but for every town.
Right.
I really like that.
Yeah, and we anticipated people are going to want to know how their money's been spent, and so that's perfectly reasonable request, and so we wanted to make sure to be able to provide that before the renovations. I always say the website had a lot of that for the big capital project, but not down to the level of detail by jurisdiction that it does now. So thank you for that comment. I appreciate it.
No.
Only comment I have is that on Golden State, which I always called Old 99.
Right.
Correct,
It was.
Golden
That's
State.
accurate.
Yeah. It's been bad for quite a few years, and it was so good over the last couple of years to have it go down all the way, I think, from Kingsburg to Fowler, even past Fowler a little bit. It's nice and smooth, and they finally did smooth it out. They did the road work near the railroad track. So
yeah, and the issue there, we have found this whenever our paths have crossed with the railroads, that always adds some considerable time and effort, and money to the situation. So sorry it's taken so long, but working out the details with the railroads whenever our right-of-way paths cross, that does typically become an issue. So I apologize that it has taken as long as it has, but I'm glad, that's finally starting to bloom. So thank you.
Other council comments?
Yeah, I understand the PCI index, but what other things are taken into consideration when projects the amount of tax dollars come back to the community?
Typically, well, specifically for the local program and the specifically for the local program, which is, that one is targeted specifically to maintenance, right? Okay, so it's siloed for maintenance. The flexible program is what it sounds like. It's much more flexible. It can be used across a range of different uses, that are enumerated in the expenditure plan. But under the local program, which is maintenance specific, the formulas are basically based on the population and road miles.
Okay.
And then the flexible is population.
Thank you.
One more question. These funds also go to ADA compliant for things here in Kingsburg?
Yes, there's a carve out for that. Yes, that is available for that specifically.
So this is a presentation. We're not going to open it up for public comment, but we are going to have public comment directly after that if anybody wants to speak about Measure C.
And I'm happy to stick around and answer questions. That's
Awesome. So Robert will be here the entire time.
for public comment.
I do want to make a couple of comments, having, being a lot more involved in this process with, and this isn't directed at Robert. Robert's job is to facilitate this. Measure C is incredibly important for our roads. You just heard a lot of words to basically break down this is a tax that's going to make our roads better. That's what it is. I have concerns. I've been vocal at COG about a lot of the concerns that I have with our current steering committee. Anybody that's paying attention to that, you'll see I'm one of maybe 4 votes up there that are against the current steering committee and its members. My concerns with Measure C, it's all going to come down to allocations. The numbers that you guys saw are old numbers. There are not new numbers yet. I'll support Measure C 100% if the allocations are right for Kingsburg. I have a concern that our roads are at a 66. Our PCI, which basically means like our road quality, it's as high as anybody else's is. My concern is that all of our dollars are going to be going into this program, and because we have good roads, we're not going to get the same amount of dollars out. And so that language has to be really, really written down well, and it needs to be solidified prior to any kind of a true endorsement from me. And we're not there yet. The steering committee is working through that, but I need to see not 30% going towards roads. I want the lion's share of this going towards roads, roadway improvements. The transit projects are great. They're more beneficial for some cities than ours. And in these meetings, Robert can attest, I'm fighting for Kingsburg in that. I completely view this through the lens of Kingsburg residents and what's good for Kingsburg, but it's very complicated. So be patient, but I will say all of this is really going to come down to allocations, guys. So once they start publishing what the true allocations are, the percentages of dollars that are going to be coming towards roads, towards Kingsburg and everything, that's what's going to make or break this measure. So we're not there yet. I love the presentation. I like that we have a foundation so that when we have allocations, we can maybe bring it back, Robert.
Sure. Happy to return.
Because that $7.25 billion is a ton of taxpayer dollars. And if it's not going to be allocated correctly, there's no chance it's going to pass or get supported here. And you know that.
I do.
You know how Kingsburg votes. We like Kingsburg dollars to stay in Kingsburg. So I appreciate that, and we look forward to hearing those allocations and having you come back, Robert.
As do I. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So that's all we have tonight for presentations and informational items. Next, we're going to move to public comment. This provides an opportunity for members of the public to address the City Council on items of interest to the public within the Council's jurisdiction, which are not already on the agenda this evening. It is the policy of Council not to answer these questions impromptu. Speakers should limit their comments to not more than 3 minutes. For items which are on the agenda this evening, members of the public will be provided an opportunity to address the Council as each item is brought up for discussion. So we will open up public comment. Do we have any members of the public that would like to come up and talk about something that either Measure C or something that's not listed on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we will close public comment. Yeah, thanks, Robert. Next up, we have the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are considered routine and include a recommendation from staff and shall be acted on in one motion of the council. If a council member requests additional information or would like to pull an item for discussion, that item shall be pulled from the consent calendar and acted upon separately. A motion to approve the consent calendar is deemed to include a motion to waive a full reading of any ordinance or resolution on the consent. Tonight on the consent calendar, we have items 1 through 11, the calendar. Do we have any members of council that would like to pull any of our consent items? No? Anyone from staff or anyone from the public like to pull anything on consent? Okay, seeing none, we'll entertain motion for consent calendar.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consent calendar passes. Thank you. Next, we will move to the regular calendar. Measure E extension presentation, staff report by City Manager Alex Henderson.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, if you recall, on June 5th, 2018, Kingsburg voters enacted Measure E, a 1% public safety sales tax that supports ongoing efforts as allowed by that measure. The measure passed after receiving 72% support. It went into effect on October 1, 2018 for a period of 10 years as outlined in the original ballot language. Unless extended, Measure E will expire on September 30th, 2028. Council previously entered a contract with Best and Krieger LLP to provide legal consultation for the renewal effort. As part of our official kickoff of the Measure E renewal, Mr. Matthew Mal Richardson is here this evening to provide a brief presentation to include an overview of the renewal and extension process, key deadlines and responsibilities, legal limitations on advocacy, and to answer any questions the public, staff, or council may have. So I could ask Mr. Richardson, please come forward.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's actually an honor to be here. I'm the co-chair of my firm's elections law practice group. Just background, my firm, Best and Krieger, statewide firm, 250 attorneys with offices from San Diego all the way up to the border and everywhere in between. I'm not from Kingsburg. I feel like I am. I actually lived in Sweden for several years. I'm fluent in Swedish, so if anybody wants to speak Swedish, vi kan prata efter. Gärna ska jag göra det. Ja. But I won't do this in Swedish. I'll do it in English. I can't speak legalese in Swedish anyway, so men vi kan prata efteråt. Yeah. Okay. Back to English. I apologize for that. It's just so exciting, when I get to speak Swedish. It never happens. Can I do this? Okay. It rarely happens, I should say that. Okay, Measure E, that's me. That's an old picture. Okay, so what are we doing tonight? We're gonna go over briefly the renewal and extension process for Measure E, talk about key deadlines and dates in that process. And I'm gonna talk about the law, what you can and can't do when it comes to a campaign for Measure E, assuming that you vote to place this on the ballot. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. That's my firm. The background, I think you're very well aware of what Measure E has done for the city, what it can do for the city going forward. I won't go through these details. These are really not the legal issues that I'm here to discuss this evening, so I'll go past this slide as well. Okay, so what is the process? So the key dates in this process begin tonight. This is the kickoff meeting, essentially, where I talk about what the law allows you to do, not do, what those dates are. The first key date is actually January 7th. That's the first date on which you can adopt a resolution calling this election and adopting the ballot measure language. Between now and then is when you would begin your community outreach. For any ballot measure like this, it's advisable to do some kind of community outreach to help the community understand what it is you're placing on the ballot, why it's on the ballot. As I'll discuss later, providing information is the key role of the city and the city council. It's really all you can do after a certain point, especially after you place this measure on the ballot. Once that measure is placed on the ballot, and by the way, the first date you can do it is January 7th. The last date you can do it is March 6th. That's the drop dead date for placing this on the ballot. Between those two dates, once this is placed on the ballot, the process begins for drafting the impartial analysis that's drafted by the city attorney, as well as arguments in favor, arguments against, and rebuttal arguments. And the council can be involved in that if the council chooses to be involved in that. And we'll discuss that as this process unfolds, and especially if and when you put this on the ballot in early 26. Election day would be June 2nd. And then assuming that the ballot measure passes, the certification date is June 30th. Okay, we'll go to the next slide here. Okay, so there are various roles, whether you're council, staff, or legal counsel. The council's job is actually fairly straightforward. Is to give policy direction. That will begin this evening. It's actually already begun. And then most importantly, to place this matter or not place it on the ballot. And then to decide who drafts the argument in favor of the ballot measure, assuming you place it on the ballot. Your job also is to provide information to your constituents as this process unfolds. Your job is not, as I will discuss later, to advocate in favor of the ballot measure once it's been placed on the ballot via resolution. Staff's job is somewhat similar to your job in terms of providing information, but they also are in charge, of course, of drafting staff reports and doing all of those procedural issues that are required by the elections code. And then your city attorney and myself, our job is to ensure that nobody gets sued during the process. It's to ensure that everything that is disseminated from the city is within the bounds set by both statute and case law. Those bounds are pretty clear, but if we're not careful, we can run afoul of that and find ourselves in hot water. If we're cautious, that shouldn't be a problem. Okay, this next slide says the campaign. That term is put on there intentionally. It's actually the improper term because we cannot, as a city, once this measure is placed on the ballot via resolution, we cannot campaign. It's actually against the law. All we can do is provide information, but I want to kind of put this in lights because there will be a campaign, right? There are others, not the city, that can campaign for and against the measure. We, however, can only provide information. Okay, what are the guiding principles? I'll just keep it really simple. There are two core cases along with statutes. You don't care about them, but I like to sound smart. So Stanson v. Mott is the seminal case, and Vargas versus the city of Salinas is a case that relies on that. That kind of outline the law. What those cases stand for is that, this is all on this slide, is that public funds, public resources, public money, public time cannot be spent or expended in favor or against, right, advocating for or against a ballot measure or any campaign issue. You simply cannot spend the people's resources to advocate for or against a measure, right? That's the black and white rule. So what does that mean? Well, what it means is that once this measure is placed on the ballot, all we can do is provide information. That information can sometimes appear to be advocacy because it may militate heavily in favor of the ballot measure. So for example, if the ballot measure is to impose a sales tax that will pay for safety equipment, fire engines, police cruisers, et cetera, that's information, right? This measure is paying for these things, which can seem to opponents like advocacy. It's not, because it's objective information, and we can provide all that information that we choose to. Here's just a list of activities that are prohibited, activities that are permitted. I won't go through this list. You can kind of skim through this. Most of this is highly intuitive. Again, if it's utilizing the public's resources to advocate for or against, we can't do it. Now, can the city council at a meeting like this state their position in favor or against a measure? The answer to that is yes. And you might ask, how's that possible? We're certainly using public funds to run this meeting. In a meeting like this, where an opponent, right, has an equal opportunity to speak, the council is free to voice its opinion on the measure. Once this meeting ends, assuming the measure is on the ballot, then at a council meeting or a non-council meeting, when council is acting in its position as council, all you can do is provide information. There's a phrase that's used with ballot measures like this, and that is that staff and council can advocate and campaign on their own time and on their own dime. But if staff is working during staff hours or utilizing anything that belongs to the city, cars, equipment, shirts, anything, they can't be campaigning. The same goes for the council. However, if a staff member lives in town or doesn't and feels very strongly about this, or a council does, and wants to go out and campaign after hours, during the weekend, completely free to do that. Simply can't do it during office hours, for example. Okay, some practice tips. This is really for staff. We want to make sure that the city's resources are always separated from any campaign activities. Want to be very cautious with the use of email, devices, and facilities. Again, if it's the city's resources, we can't use them to campaign in favor of a measure. Every attorney's favorite is this third bullet point. When in doubt, ask legal counsel. We like to feel important, so you can give the city attorney a call. He'll feel very good about himself that he's helped you during that day. And then this fourth bullet point might seem odd. Remember, perception matters. This is your constituents' business. And if they perceive the city as going too far in favor of advocacy, that does matter. And it actually can lead to liability, even if you're on the right side of the law, right? I've seen jurisdictions threatened with litigation, not actually sued, but threatened because their information dissemination looks like it's too close to the line of advocacy. And you want to steer as clear of that as possible. And again, your role is to inform, not to persuade. The next steps in this process is for the council to confirm your direction and then ballot timing. And that'll be your interactions with staff in terms of when you want this to come back, if you want this to come back, and on what dates. You'll want to launch a community outreach process by which you provide information to the community about what this measure is, what it isn't, et cetera. Myself, staff, your city attorney will prepare the resolution or ordinance, as well as the impartial analysis to be placed on the ballot. And then we'll just ensure maintenance of compliance or maintaining compliance with the restrictions from case law and from statutes. Okay, I was told to keep this as brief as possible. That's as brief as I could possibly go. I am happy to answer any questions you have about the process, about the lines, about information versus advocacy, et cetera.
Thank you. Questions from council first.
Yeah, I have a question. As council members, we're allowed to put like a sign in our yard?
Absolutely, because you're also a resident.
Okay, cool.
And you have that First Amendment right to speak your mind when you're on your own time. You can put 10 signs in your yard, depending on the city's regulations with campaign signs.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And is this, I see it expires 2028, Measure E, and that's another 10-year?
Well, that depends on what council wants to do. So your current measure has a sunset in it that expires it in 2028. You have two options when it comes to this measure. One is to have a sunset period embedded in the ordinance, and the other is to have no sunset. And cities do both. I've advised cities on who have added sunsets and those who have not added sunsets.
I have a question. So can I put things on social media if it is my personal account and not a city account?
Absolutely. Yes, you are free. I'll just emphasize as clearly as possible. You are free in your time as an individual to go knock doors, to put things on social media, to go to campaign rallies, to hold campaign rallies, to fundraise, as long as you're not doing that as a council member in your role as council member.
Even after it's on the ballot.
Even after it's on the ballot. That's
I
correct.
want to make sure.
Yeah. What you can't do is fundraise from the dais and those kinds of things. Once it's on the ballot, if you're, for example, at a town hall meeting about something else and there's no opportunity for the public to speak, you shouldn't be there campaigning. But when it's your own time and you aren't working as a council member, you can do anything you want to advocate in favor of the ballot measure.
So the letter, ours is Measure E. That letter will be assigned when we place it on the ballot.
The county registrar is responsible for assigning. Your city clerk, I believe, is in communication with the county registrar. It does help to put the measure on as soon as possible in terms of getting the letter you want. If you wait too long, that letter might have already been taken. But your city clerk, I'm sure, is the expert on all these things. Yeah. Okay.
But it would be better to do it sooner than later.
A question just about, obviously, we don't have hours. We don't have set hours. So would it be safe for us to say if we are at anything just in an official capacity, city endorsed event, that that's the time that it would be off limits for us?
That's correct. Yeah.
So my question is, if, let's say that there's a fundraising event, one of council or staff or I are asked to speak about it, would it be inappropriate for them to say, we're going to have a quick speech about this from Mayor Purcell, or would they have to just say, Brandon Purcell's going to speak about it? Is there a way to differentiate that if it's a fundraising event? They've clearly invited one of us there because of our capacity. We're going to speak to it. We're not just going to be giving informational. We're there to help the fundraising. How can we protect ourselves and protect the city with that?
That's a very good question. One that comes up during most campaign periods when you have a measure like this on the ballot. So a few best practices. One, if you're going to speak at a fundraiser like that or at an event, that it really is a campaign event. I don't know if you have Kingsburg polos, for example, branded gear. I wouldn't wear that, right? Go as Brandon, but the city knows that you're the mayor, right? It's not improper to introduce you as Brandon Purcell, mayor of Kingsburg, but you need to present very clearly that you are there as a private resident representing your own views and not speaking on behalf of the city or the council of Kingsburg. If you make those disclaimers, then you're going to be okay.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Other council questions, discussion? If not, we're going to open it up for public comment. Do we have any members of the public that would like to come up and ask questions or speak on this? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to council for any closing comments or questions. Okay, seeing none, I think this is informational only.
Information only, request from staff would be to consider some of the details of the actual ballot language, and we'll work together to bring some of those choices, but sort of as we were just talking about this evening. So the sunset clause, I think, is probably the major one, but so be considering that. And then, Councilmember North mentioned with the Measure C project that she liked their website. So I think if there are particular things that you like with regards to information getting out there that we can provide from an advocacy standpoint, or excuse me, from an informational standpoint, we'll endeavor to do that. The Finance Committee will be discussing next week some options to work potentially with a marketing firm to assist the city with that, and they've BB&K has looked over those proposals as well to make sure that what's being presented to us is in
We'll close out. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to move to item 13, the Chamber of Commerce contract discussion. Staff report by City Manager Alex Henderson.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, the city has been in the process of negotiating contract amendments to the existing agreement with the Chamber of Commerce, which was last negotiated in 2019. The negotiations were spurred by requests from the Chamber for alterations to the existing contract. Two original requests from the Chamber were the removal of the Chamber of Commerce responsibility for the July 3rd Independence Day celebration and an additional $10,000 contribution towards regular operations, which is currently $30,000 annually. After deliberations with Chamber Board representatives, we've reached tentative agreement on the main issues and are seeking additional feedback from respective approving bodies. The Chamber informally discussed the item at the regular board meeting on July 15th, 2025. While there are several language changes intended to clarify or remove cleanup dated items from the 2019 agreement, Highlights of the proposed alterations include the removal of the July 3rd Independence Day celebration from the required list of promotional activities the chamber must deliver annually, removal of the $5,000 city contribution made to the chamber to support the July 3rd Independence Day celebration, the annual city contribution to remain at $30,000 annually for operations related to contract delivery, and clarifying language in Section 6 subcontracting to recognize that certain duties and responsibilities of festivals may be aided by local organizations, but identifies that the Chamber of Commerce is the sole responsible entity for festival delivery. The city's Finance Committee held discussion during their July 28, 2025 regular meeting. After that, some clarifying language regarding desire to preserve culturally significant events and make sure that the Chamber's website remain updated for festival information were added as part of the proposed language revisions. The committee recommended approval to the City Council for additional consideration with no changes to the financial provisions as presented by staff. So this evening, you have a clean copy, a red line copy, and a copy of the original 2019 agreement as part of your packet. And that concludes my report, but I'm certainly happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Thank you. Do you have any questions or comments from council before we go to public?
I do, just for clarification. So what we're proposing is 30,000 and then in addition, the 12,000 for the band concerts.
Yeah, so the 2019 agreement stipulated $30,000 for essentially annual contract delivery, $12,000 for specific for the band concerts, and an additional $5,000 for the fireworks. So fireworks is going away, so that $5,000 is going away, but the other two numbers are proposed to remain the same.
Yeah, we'll open this up for public comment. Any members of the public like to come speak on this? Come on up.
I have a lot of frustrations and I'm June Hess. I have been to 59 Swedish festivals and I have put together the Swedish Cultural Village for 29 years. 27 of those years I paid for everything that I did out here. And I don't think any other group that works with the festival pays for everything themselves. They get reimbursed, but I did not. And for 17 of those years, we built a stage. Fortunately now, there's a professional that comes and builds our stage on Draper Street. And we saved my family put the stage together. And we actually saved the chamber $1,500 every year. And one year, Tim from Corsaros came and helped us, and one year a former mayor came and helped us. But other than that, it was all of my children and grandchildren. And I paid them with Corsaros pizza. And I paid my kids for all the help that they did with meals. I bought them the smorgasbord, the breakfast, and the pea soup and pancakes. And over the years, I have made more than 300 Swedish costumes at my cost. Only the cost of the fabrics. I never made a dime for my labor. And 2 years ago, we had the Lions Club and Steve that helped us tremendously. And I really think that last year was our best festival ever. And I thought, oh, finally, it's happening. And then that's gone. That's been pulled away from us now. And I feel very, very bad. I put in literally hundreds of hours in the Swedish festival. People don't see everything I do, and we do a lot of the whole week of the festival. We're volunteers. We are volunteers, and then last 2 or 3 years we've been told that we're not to ask the chamber office for any help, and so it's been hard, but we figured things out on our own. And I feel very badly that people in town that do so much for our town have been just kind of treated badly. And I personally, I don't know how I can do this anymore with the Swedish Cultural Village. And the chamber can probably hire people to do what my family and I have done. But I just want to tell you, as the city council, thank you so much for your support. And it's really hard for me to have to step down, but I don't know how I can do it without the financial help that we got the last couple of years. And I just appreciate those people, the Lions Club and the people that helped us so much. And that's why last year was really our best festival. Because when I pay for everything, I just hope I make enough money in my store to pay for what I do in the cultural village. So I just want to say thank you to you for the privilege of doing this. I have a passion for it, but I don't know how I can do it anymore. So I just tell you that I appreciate you very much. And I don't know what's going to happen from here. Maybe several people could be hired to do what I normally would do, but I'm just grateful, and I really think we need to honor those people that do so much for our town. I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about those other people out there that have done so much for our town. And have any questions for me?
June, we're very thankful for all that you do with the Swedish Festival, but are you saying tonight that you're officially stepping down, or you will still be part of the Swedish committee? Not to put you on the spot, and maybe you don't want to answer, but it seems like that's what you're saying to us today.
My interest is the Swedish part and this block that I put together. When people come to a Swedish festival, I think they want to experience the Swedish culture. They want to eat Swedish food. They want to see Swedish dancing. They want to see the costumes. They want it to be very Swedish. And that's what I have been doing. But without the help from that we got through Steve Safarjan and Lions Club, I don't know how it could be done anymore. So.
Okay, thank you.
June, thank you for all you do. You're our Swedish queen, right? From our original Swedish queen in Kingsburg, and we see what you do. We see it all week. We see it all year in what you do. I do have some clarifying questions. So when you said the help from the Lions Club and the difference for the last 2 years, are you specifically talking about donations of money so it doesn't come from your pocket? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, where's it going to come from?
Okay.
We had a wonderful person who really had a gift for raising money, sponsorships, and that was really good. And so, and it would be nice to get just some kind of encouragement from the chamber board. just, if the paid people could say, how can we help you? How can we help you make this festival better? And we're on your team, but we feel like we're not allowed to do that. So,
Yeah, I want to thank you also, June, for all the hard work over the years to make the Swedish Festival what it has been and what it's hopefully will still be. So you're saying that there's like no collaboration between the Swedish Festival Committee and the Chamber? The Chamber, they don't want to help the committee,
we're not supposed to ask them for help.
and that's been stipulated by them?
And
Is that what you're saying?
And then we were even told that the Swedish Festival Committee should pay the chamber office $2,400 for the work they do for us.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that. I thought there was a little, some collaboration between Chamber and
Yeah,
the committee.
yeah, it's very difficult.
Just want to just thank you, June. I think we all agree you do a phenomenal job. Our Swedish festival is not the same without you. I do want to point out that for this specifically related to this contract, what happens with this, for clarification, is the city gives dollars for this contract to make all of these things happen. All of those dollars go to the same group, which is the chamber. And then how it gets dispersed amongst the Swedish festival, the Swedish village, and everything else is up to that board. And I just want for people, there's a lot of confusion sometimes with whether or not we're running festivals, whether or not we're controlling those dollars. Our job in this is to say, here's the $42,000, make sure all these things happen, chamber board. And then what happens with it after that is on the chamber board. It's kind of like a subcontractor. We give the money in the expectations that that'll take place. Seems like there is some clashes inside of the chamber and how that's getting, I look forward to you guys working through that process, but that is not ours. We can't do that, the same as we can't go to Mid-Valley Disposal that we have contract with and tell them how to run their business. We just choose to do business with them or we choose to not do business. I think us, if we do approve this contract tonight, is the city's way, at least the five of us, that's our way of saying we are all in on these festivals, June. We're all in on supporting them in the way that we can. And I hope that you hear that message from us, that we are doing what we can to make sure that these things continue and we find value in it. We were very deliberate with a lot of our words in there related to culture, related to Swedish experiences. We want to make sure that stuff happens. So we hear your frustrations, and I hope that you see our investment of dollars are hopefully translating to those things that are important to you also. Do we have any other members of the public that would like to speak to this? Go ahead and come on. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, June.
Thank you, Jim.
I'm sorry. My name is Janet Kelly, and I've lived here my entire life. I wanted to thank you for the language that is in the proposal to the chamber because it includes the idea of continuing the cultural aspect of Kingsburg. One of the things that I always think of is that this is the gem of the valley, not the dirt clod of the valley. And and it takes some pressure and some heat to make sure it stays the gem of the valley. But it's amazing how the cultural aspect of our town, the things that you guys are encouraging, is what makes us different. You know, every city, almost every place has a Christmas parade, and every place has a, fall festival. But we have the Crayfish Festival, and we have Santa Lucia, and I know that you guys are pushing that forward, and I appreciated the language in your proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan?
Other members like to speak?
Council, city staff, Reggie Gerke with the Kingsburg Chamber of Commerce, currently president of the board. And I have my vice president, Tammy Dooley, with me here too. Thank you to Mr. Henderson and the city staff and the many hours and emails and meetings that went into trying to get this this contract revived and refreshed to be a little bit more in line with what's taking place now in our community. I made a promise to our board about 8-9 months ago now that I would do everything I can to make sure we follow the rules that are presented to us, not only from a legal standpoint, from our own bylaws and our own organization, but also the contracts that we hold. One of those contracts was the city's contract, and there was some language in there that we had some conversations with that really restricted what we could do and who we could partner with when it came to assignment and subcontracting. That tied our hands in how festivals and all the other events had to be run, to include how money went and where it came from and who was responsible for what. So that was probably one of our main key conversation points, was how do we ensure that we still maintain those partnerships with those community organizations and leave that door open for us to be able to work with them and not be restricted by a contract or any other legal practices. So adding that verbiage in there under the assignment portion of it, being able to partner with other nonprofits and community organizations is a really big win, I think. It removes that problem we had, I'll be honest, we ran into this year with the Lions Club during the Swedish Festival. We were kind of had our hands tied. I wanted to make sure we followed the rules, probably at a level of overabundance of caution, but I wanted to make sure we were where we were supposed to be. So I don't want to get into the politics of it and everything, because that's not why we're here. But I just wanted to address that. I think these changes not only are good for us, that's what I need to look out for first, but I'm also a citizen of Kingsburg, and I think it's a good win for Kingsburg. We maintain those events that are really important. Over the last couple of years, we brought back the Crayfish Festival. It used to just be a fall harvest festival, right? So bringing back another component of that Swedish part of it, making sure we maintain that, and really trying to streamline our internal operations to be as efficient as we can with the very limited amount of dollars we have. We do very much so rely very heavily on volunteers. We have 2 part-time paid people. And they probably get paid for about 10% of the work they do. Don't let a labor attorney hear that, but what they do on their own time is theirs, right? So it's really, I think, a great partnership, and there are some relationships within the community that I think need to have further conversations to ensure that things continue. But we saw a really good interaction with the city and the Seawolves to pull off the 3rd of July this year. So we got to still be a little part of that with helping out some of the logistics in the background. And we never at any time want to let anybody feel like they're left holding the bag. It's been mentioned probably almost every meeting that if somebody has an expense, we need to know about it. Because if we don't know about it, we can't help them with it. And we also don't know what the true cost is. That's probably one of our biggest challenges, is when we try to quantify what does $42,000 do a year for the citizens of Kingsburg. Well, it's probably add a comma to that, and that's what it would really cost if we paid for everything, if we had people pay for it. But we have our community that really steps up and makes all those things happen. So yeah, that's my thought on it. But if you guys have questions, I'd love to answer them.
I think we do.
Yes, we do. So I am the council liaison that goes to the chamber meetings, and I appreciate what you had to say. I don't like the fact that what happened for the Swedish Festival is being referred to with the city contract because our contract has not changed. The sponsorship and the partnership, and I'll just say it, the elephant in the room, the Lions Club, that has been going on for more than 1 year. You just said that you promised your board that you would go by the contracts, and you referred to the city one 9 months ago. So the city doesn't do business like this, and I would just say in the future, if that's the case, that needs to be talked about at board meetings. It was not, I was there. And to do it and to have that conversation on the Friday of the festival or Thursday of the festival, whatever it is, it's just not kind and it's not good business, and that's not how the city works. And to then say that it is in the city contract that late, if the promise was made like 9 months ago. So just say that in referring that and kind of pushing it off on the city on that Friday, I don't agree with the way that business was done in that way.
In response to that, we'd been reviewing the contracts and the bylaws for many months prior to that, going over procedures that needed to be followed. And in the past, we did not run money through any other organizations. Money was always ran exclusively through the chamber coffers. And this year was different. It was collected by the Lions Club and other organizations, and the money should have never been. We always had our own cash boxes for the meals and all of that. There was other organizations that paid for things and then we reimbursed them, but actual collection of funds, especially sponsorships, were never done by anybody. As far as I'm aware, as long as I've been there, were never done that way and should not have been done that way.
I have a lot more thoughts, but it's really more off of the topic of what we have in front of us. So
I appreciate you saying that. This can for sure go a lot of different directions.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure that there's a lot of work ahead. So I appreciate it. Other comments about the contract?
I have a few comments, not really questions. I just want to thank staff for working with the chamber to, bridge this agreement. And I think it's, a good agreement. But I would really encourage, because, I go to the chamber meetings, I would really encourage, the chamber to work with the committee and the committee work with the chamber, all the committees. I think that it needs to be a symbiotic relationship. And sometimes I feel that it's not. And we have a lot of chamber members here, I think, and board members. I think the board members are great. And so I feel strongly about this agreement. This is a 1-year agreement. It's a 1-year agreement. And so I just want everybody to be aware that, the agreement can change next year if we don't really see things work in a symbiotic way, I guess. It's the best way to say it. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I have a comment also, myself included. I want to thank staff for, the contract with Chamber of Commerce, and also to piggyback off what Dave said, I would really hope that the chamber would work well with the Swedish Festival Committee in the near future, or for the next several years with the Swedish Festival, because we're Kingsburg, with all the Swedish culture, and that festival to me is like one of the biggest. It's Kingsburg. There's no town around, to me, pretty much in the state that has a festival to honor their culture like we do here in Kingsburg. And as a young boy, I have so many good memories of the Swedish Festival, living here my entire life. And I just really hope that the chamber can, work and the festival committee work well together in the coming years.
Yes, being on the Swedish Festival Committee, I appreciate everything that the city has done with the language in this contract, and I appreciate the updates that were made after the Finance Committee discussion. It is it is disappointing to hear June talk like she is. And I've been there at the meetings and I've been out there doing the work. So I would really appreciate if you guys could figure out somehow to mend that. The Swedish festival won't be the same without the input she has to the festival. I mean, we will figure out how to do it. But I think June is a key element here in Kingsburg and in the Swedish festival. And I think that's important. And I think it should be important to the chamber board to figure out how to bring this one together, because the Swedish festival is a very important festival for the community.
Yeah, so the contract's fine. I just overall want to address the chamber from one, you guys are all volunteers. That's the best thing. You know, I just had to give a speech at the high school about kind of why Kingsburg's better than everybody else. And realistically, these festivals are a big part of it, but the foundation of all of that is volunteers. Every single one of you are volunteers. And when it comes to these events, the car show, the festival, St. Lucia, everything, more than anything else, I'm just a fan. I'm a fan of the end result. And it's a little bit like a sports team to me. Like, I'm a fan of your team and this town. Sometimes teams fight during practice, and that's okay. As long as at the end of the day, we all have the same goal, and that's to provide a great festival for everybody here. I think that in your guys' hearts, that's where everybody's at. And so just as a fan of your end product, I thank you. And I'll reiterate what I said earlier. I hope you guys see this as a $42,000 investment into it. Keep going. Keep practicing. If you guys fight at practice, but just come together at game time. That's all that we're asking. Appreciate you guys. Do you have any other public comment about this? Anyone else want to come up?
Chris Peterson. I found June's comments to be very sad. I find some other comments made not very truthful, because I've been there, seen it, experienced it. I'm one of the volunteers. I don't put in as many hours as Stacy or as June, but I put my hours in, and I am livid at the lies and the manipulation and the crapola behind all this. And I know everyone in this room knows what it is, but we're not going to air our laundry in public, so to speak, or at least not too much. And there's a lot more to this, and it makes me very sad, very angry, sad, to see people that I've known my entire life who are in some odd way, I don't understand it, trying to destroy the good that the Kingsburg has had the last 59 years of the Swedish festival. I was there at the first one. So were some people in here, and I just got back from Stockholm. I spent over a week there, and I talked at Kingsburg. I was at the museums. I was stealing ideas and at different stores and telling them why I was looking for fabric for things or doing this or doing that. And they were really kind of enamored. I mean, and then when I said, sun-made raisins, then they kind of put it together because they eat sun-made raisins, but they still didn't know where Kingsburg was. But, sharing this with the real Swedes. I mean, Stockholm's not very Swedish, as Alex learned when he was there. It's a big city. But they're kind of fascinated that we go to all this effort to do what we do here. And so we are unique in that, and special, and those of us who sacrifice our time, our patience, and our dignity only to be, shoved aside and yelled at for stupid things. You know, we're doing this because it's the right thing to do to keep these festivals going. And so I appreciate the chamber not the chamber, the council for understanding the volunteers for these cultural festivals, that we're doing it for the right reasons and trying to preserve it to make, you know, Kingsburg special. You know, any given weekday, there could be because this has happened a number of times, a mom and a grandma and a baby stroller with babies are, you know, walking down the street and maybe having lunch or getting fika at Bella Bakery. And you ask them, so where are you from? Oh, we're from Hanford. We're from Visalia. They're from the, you know, local area. Well, how come you come here to shop? Oh, we just love Kingsburg. We just to walk and do that. You know, they just go on and on and on how they just love coming here, and it's a treat. And you know, that doesn't happen. I don't feel like it's a treat to go walk around Fresno or whatever. So those are the things that help make it special. And it's going to be, as time goes on, it'll be harder and harder to preserve that. But in the meantime, while those of us are still able to walk upright and volunteer, we're trying to keep it going. And I appreciate the council understanding that with the people who are doing the real work. Thank you.
Else from the public who would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment on that and come back for any other questions or final remarks from council. It doesn't look like we have any. So staff's recommendation for this is for city council to approve the proposed agreement as it's presented. We'll entertain motions for that.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we will move on to item 14, the engineer's report. Report by City Engineer Dave Peters. Welcome, Dave.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Do you have this ready or not? It's for the next one. I'll put it in. It's for the next one. Good evening. Want to give you an update on some of the engineering projects that are happening. Just finished two of our capital improvement projects. One was extension of a roadway into the undeveloped area north of the business park. So it's about 300 feet of road and sewer and water utilities that connect into our court, which is the most northerly east-west street, and goes and extends north into the undeveloped area, just west of the dance studio. Another project that just got completed was our 2025 streets project. So that was significant repaving of Tulare Street and Stroud Avenues, and also completed a number of streets in the southeast area and the northeast area as well. So that just got completed. We're in the process of closing those two projects out. One more project we're going to try to get done before winter hits is the Mailer Workington Alley from 14th to 10th, and the Sierra to Mariposa Alley between 20th and 21st. So we expect to have those out to bid later this week or early next week and get those done before the wet weather. Lot, and then add solar panels and charging stations in that parking lot. So we'll see some movement on that project in the near future. And then in regards to development projects, West Star has begun work on their phase 5 tract. So it's about 99 homes or 98 homes, I think, on the west side of 18th, north of Cam. So it's the kind of really the last phase in that whole Kings Estates development. They should finish infrastructure improvements later this year, early next year, and then they'll start on the houses after that. They've also broken ground on the Calsa Truck Center, which is north of Cam Avenue, just west of the 99. So it's just a truck dispatch center just west of the Kingsburg Truck Center. And we have been having some discussions with the group that's developing senior apartments on 10th, just north of the Ace Hardware. So that looks like that's again gaining some traction. One project I wanted to remind you of, we do have a project with PG&E that's been going on for, I think, 12 years now. Again, completely driven by PG&E schedule, but it's a Rule 20 undergrounding project. So it's going to underground the power poles in front of Roosevelt School. The project has been delayed multiple times because they're phasing out the Rule 20. And so they're canceling projects and moving money to other projects to try to complete, to try to close out the program. Luckily, we are one of the projects they're keeping. Money has been moved from other projects to our project to make it happen. It's just a very slow process with PG&E. And then, as you discussed in your last meeting, we're preparing the Safe Routes to School grant application that's due in October. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from council?
You mentioned the Lilia Dolan
Yes.
Senior Complex.
Yeah.
When do we anticipate that one kind of coming to fruition?
I wouldn't think it's in the near future. I believe there's some maybe funding issues, tax credit issues. I'm not really sure. I'm not really completely plugged into that part of it, but we have been meeting with their design staff again after a little bit of a hiatus. So it's starting to get some traction.
Very good. Thank you.
I have a question, Dave. You mentioned the Smith Street parking lot.
Yeah.
And there's going to be solar panels, you said?
Yeah. So like I said, it's the FCRTA project. So, they're going to install the kind of the awnings over the parking stalls and the solar panels on top of those. You see it at schools. And I think we've got some of that too. So there'll be that element, and then there'll be some charging stations that they'll use, I think, to charge some of their vehicles, but there'll also be an element where the public will have access to those charging stations as well. And then the parking lot itself will get repaved. We're going to do some improvements to the trash enclosure and the concrete and that kind of stuff.
So solar panels are mainly for charging the vehicle.
I think it's all connected to the charging.
Yeah, so I can speak to that a little bit from the FCRTA board. So it's a microgrid project. Mm-hmm. The intent of it is to try to build out just call them little substations of charge areas.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So kind of what Kingsburg is getting out of that is we're getting the free charging stations, but they're also completely paying for all the repaving and everything else.
Yeah.
So that's not coming out of ours. That's kind of a dual win for the city. It was one of the projects that FCRTA decided to move forward with. So they're taking care of all the funding and stuff for that. So we're just working in collaboration with them to get what they want.
Yeah, I think we talked about it last year. Yeah.
And then can I scroll with this?
And one more thing. Is that going to add more parking?
I don't think we're going to get any more parking stalls. It's just
Probably
if you
not.
look at the parking lot right now, it's in pretty bad disrepair. So it'll just improve things.
Yeah, just improve it. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Peters, on that PG&E 20A underground project, we also have a streets project there, right? Where we're going to do the speed humps.
Now we're going to talk about that in a second, but yes.
Oh, okay. Well, should I just wait?
No.
Okay. So there's a lot of power lines in that intersection. Is that going to be part of this?
Yeah, it actually,
20A undergrounding all those?
Yeah. So the undergrounding project limits are from south of that intersection to just barely north of Draper.
Okay.
So it'll take out all of the power lines from, essentially in front of the school.
Right.
And then it'll extends down, I think, to Roosevelt. south of Kern.
So it'll miss the intersection on Kurt, or it will hit.
No, it goes through that intersection,
Okay.
yeah. But
Okay.
Again, PG&E hasn't even started the design yet. So the projects kind of sit, and then the costs increase, and then the projects are no longer fundable. You know, the funding is no longer adequate, so then they have to move things around. So I think in our last discussion with them, they basically said these are the funding limits that are probably going to not change. And so when we get in the design, we may have to change the design to match the funding. So the limits could change. I think the in front of the school is the priority, but it might not go all. So we'll just have to see how it works out.
Well, I guess my real question would be, are they going to be, are we going to have to do two projects the same time, or are they going to be, we're doing one project one year and then the other one, who knows when we're going to do it? They have to redo it again.
Yeah, I think their construction is in the 2030s.
Okay.
I mean, the last that they talked, so I don't think we'll wait around for that.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Any other council questions? Okay, we're going to open it up to the public before we move on, just to separate items. Do we have any public comments specifically related to the engineer's report? Okay, we'll bring it back to council. Any last comments from council before we close it? Okay, now we'll move on to item 15, which is the federal and state transportation grant project awards. Staff report by City Engineer Dave Peters.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Just want to give you a kind of a summary of where we sit with all of our federal and state transportation projects, since we've been pretty successful in the last couple of years getting a lot of grants. We've over the course of the last few years, we've submitted grants to the Highway Safety Improvement Program, Surface Transportation Block Grant a couple different times, Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program, and the Carbon Reduction Program. And the result of that is that we were awarded 10 projects totaling about $7.2 million. So there's a lot of work coming up. Just kind of want to give you a preview of what that is. And I thought I would put this together because it's a little bit more exciting than a spreadsheet. Okay, so this is the project that we just talked about. That's ready to go to bid. So it's the Mailer-Orkinson Alley between 10th and 14th. Essentially, it's a dirt alley, so it'll get, it'll be a valley gutter with new approaches and paving for our standards. And then same for this, these projects will be bid together. This is the 2021st alley improvement from Mariposa to Sierra. So these projects will happen this year, before the wet weather hits. Another project that we were awarded was the 18th Avenue reconstruction from Earl to Sierra. So if you remember a couple years ago, we did 396 to Earl and down by Lincoln School. And so this just finishes that street all the way up to Sierra. Another project we got was building this roundabout. So we'll be talking about this a lot before it goes to construction, but this is another project. This is about a $1.4 million project that we were awarded. We were awarded a grant to install electric vehicle charging stations near the train depot. Exact location to be determined. So that's going to require some coordination with PG&E. Essentially, where we can get that much power to power them, and that might drive the location as long as some other considerations. So even though we show it here, it may not be in exactly those exact spots. This project will happen probably pretty quickly, but it's a project to replace the in-pavement crosswalk lights at these three intersections with rectangular rapid flashing beacons. So those are the beacons that we put on Sierra Street. The rectangular rapid flashing beacons are just much more reliable. These have been a maintenance issue and a problem. This is the project that was just discussed. This is the 10th and Kern intersection improvements. So essentially, this was a project to enhance safety at this intersection. You can see we're narrowing I guess that's the southeast leg of Kern Street. We're adding a speed table, and I'll show you guys exactly what all that means later. It's not a speed bump. It's just a help some visibility in the crosswalk, some speed feedback signs, and some other safety improvements. So another project that we got was to repave Sierra Street, just east of the roundabout that we built, all the way up to Rayford Johnson Drive. So that street's in it needs some repaving. We're also funded to reconstruct 18th from Stroud all the way up to Cam, and the reason it's kind of crosshatch out like that, these are the exhibits that we pulled from our grant applications. So they're definitely not design plans, but that area was reconstructed with the subdivision, so it won't need to be completely repaved. It'll just need some sort of pavement treatment. Another project we got was to complete the alley reconstructions in the Carlson addition. So I just mentioned that we're going to do the 20th, 21st alley. This does the 20th, 19th alley from Sierra to Mariposa, and the 18th, 19th alley from Riverside to Mariposa. And the reason it doesn't go all the way to Sierra is because it's already been improved by the church. And that's essentially a description of the projects that we have. They are on the spreadsheet that's included in your packet. I've listed what fiscal years the money has been programmed in. So that's kind of a function that COG does based on the amount of available funding. We will try to move some of these projects up, so they're always willing to move projects up because they have certain delivery goals that they're trying to reach. So some of the easier projects like the RFB project, or maybe some of the paving projects, we'll look to move those up. And then some of the other projects like the roundabout or maybe 10th and Kern, where we need a little bit more time to develop those designs and share those with you, those could be further out in the schedule. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions from council? Pretty similar. Open it up to the public. Anybody from the public? Come on up. Now, I need you to come up, and we got to go through the process. Come up.
Yeah, we talked for valley improvement. My alley's a dirt alley too. I won't know how I get on that list.
So, sir, if you can, when you come up here, one of the things is when you're addressing, you address us, you don't address staff.
Okay.
And then we address staff.
How do I get on the docket for alley improvement?
How do you get on the docket for alley?
How do I get on the list for getting my alley improved?
Where is your alley?
It's on the back of Smith Street between Berman's and Catholic Church.
On Smith between Berman and Catholic Church?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We'll take a look at it. I'll direct staff to reach out to you.
It's been that way as long as I've been here, 30 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other?
I can give you a general response. So the way that funding works with regards to road dollars, so alleys are not considered road miles. So we can't we're not allowed to use the funding that we get for roads to improve alleys. So the alleys that you see up here that we have are actually through federal grants that we get for air quality mitigation. Certainly there's unfortunately a handful of alleys in town that have been dirt. A couple of these are also on that list, but as we go forward with future grant applications, we could include your alley or other alleys that are eligible. I mean, it's, we put together applications with the intent of being successful. So it just depends upon what the eligibility requirements are for individual ones. But just to answer sort of, as you see alleys up here, that's the process that Staff identifies them, it comes to the council. Council considers what we're going to apply for. All of these are through, they're the different programs that Dave mentioned, but they're through the Fresno Council of Governments, that we apply. So that's just the general process, but I'm certainly happy to get all your information and, as we go forward in future years, add it to the list.
I want to add one more thing to that. I'm glad you brought up the consideration of alleys not being roadway miles. At the Council of Governments, when we're talking about Measure C, that's one of the things that I'm pushing them is to change the verbiage on that, because Kingsburg is unique in having alleys. Most towns don't, and we don't get credit for those as roadways. So that's one of the things in Measure C that I'm hoping to change that will benefit Kingsburg, is if they consider alleys roadways in that measure, it's going to allocate funding for it so that our alleys getting repaved won't be a problem. We're having to pull money from CDBG and other things for alleys right now, but we're hoping that if Measure C is written correctly, hopefully we'll get additional funding so that in the future we can maintain our alleys a little bit better too. So thank you for bringing that up. Do we have any other public comments? Okay, seeing none, this is informational only. We'll move to future agenda items, of which we have none listed, and we will move to the city manager's report.
Just one item of good news that we just received word from HCD that they are planning to accept our revisions to the housing element that we've been working on for roughly the last 9 months. So that will include, that means without any of the rezoning that we talked about last December. So obviously good news, and kudos to Holly and the consultants at Provost and Pritchard for all their work. So you'll see that has to go before public hearings before the Planning Commission and the council to make those amendments that we are identifying to the existing housing element. But good news on that front. That's all I have.
Thank you. Now move to council reports and committee reports. We will start with Councilmember Silva.
Thank you, Mayor Purcell. The Economic Development Committee has not met. The South Kings GSA meeting was postponed until 8/27, so that's next week at 5:30 in Parlier. And then I did attend the Kingsburg Healthcare District meeting where Chief Roberts gave an update on the grants that the healthcare district has funded through the city. He did a very nice job, as well as Adam Castaneda gave another thorough update on the senior center grants and the Senior Inc. Grant meals. So thank you to staff for that. And then a notable budget change that the healthcare district is proposing is an allocation for community needs funding. So they're taking more, basically they're moving more money from grants to community needs funds. So that gives them a little bit of latitude on projects that come up with outside of the grant cycle. They can allocate funds outside the grant cycle. And so that's a notable change. And then the only other thing, I had to leave the Kingsburg Healthcare District, or so I thought. And so thank you to Councilmember North for taking the second half of that meeting. And I appreciate that. And then also thank you to Councilmember Smith for attending the open forum that was at the Velcom Village in District 1. I wasn't able to attend that one, but there was staff there from Assemblywoman Hurtado. And so I appreciate you for attending that as well. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilmember North.
Bid will meet next on September 2nd. I reported out last meeting about their meeting. The Chamber of Commerce, their next meeting is September 9th at 5 o'clock. And to report out on their meeting, Crayfish Festival is coming up on September 20th from 5 to 10. And if you go to their website, you're going to find a link that you can click on. They are hiring an executive director. And so they're taking applications and resumes right now. And so if you go to their website, anybody in the public that might be listening and is interested, that's where you can submit your resume and apply. And that's all that I have.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes, the Finance Committee is going to be meeting on 8/25. And then the Community Services Commission hasn't met, and our next scheduled meeting is September 24th. I attended the chamber mixer last night. It was well attended, and thank you to Casaros for allowing the hospital district who hosted it to host it there at the restaurant. Wonderful turnout, wonderful evening. And one other item, the community roundtable is tomorrow night. This one is hosted by a group through Fresno Pacific. I mentioned it before and I forgot to bring my flyer. It's held tomorrow night at 5 p.m. at the Covenant Church. There is a QR code on the flyer that I forgot to register because dinner, there's food that's being served. So there's a good turnout. I heard there's a number of people that have signed up, but it's a business roundtable, so that'll be interesting to see. And that's it.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Public Safety Committee, we met last week and we just discussed the use of funds for next year. We didn't take no action because we were just allocated those funds in July. Planning Commission, we have not met since our last meeting. SKF, the board approved an agreement with Precision Engineering for engineering services. The board also, we approved an agreement for wastewater disposal variances between Lion Raisin and Sunmade for their wastewater. And that's all I have.
Thank you. For my report out, I have good news and bad news. We'll start with, and then I'll end with good news. So first thing, which was great, school started. City manager, chief, and I were invited to go speak at the high school at their faculty day. So I was able to listen to our city manager tout the great things about our town. So kudos, Alex did a great job addressing the staff and really just letting everybody know that they're such a big part of our community and how much we appreciate our educators. So that was a great thing. My bad news is this evening I received a letter of resignation from our police chief. So Chief Dadian will be retiring as of the end of this year. So I say that as bad news, and then the good news in that is we're very happy for him. We are. This is something that he wants. He's ready for it, and we've had great time here with him. And I'm excited to see his last few months and kind of a farewell tour for Chief. So if you see him, go up to him, talk to him a little bit about it. In his letter, he even indicated how he's just absolutely fallen in love with our community. He's been a great chief. He's going to be very, very hard to replace, and that process will take some time. But we got him through the end of the year. So just a public shout out to Chief. Sad to see him go, but very, very happy for the next chapter for him. Do we have any other items from council or staff? Okay, seeing none, we are going to go ahead and adjourn into closed session. Mr. Attorney, do we have anything to report out?
No, Mr. Mayor, we have nothing to report out of closed session. Thank you.
We'll adjourn tonight's meeting.